some ideas how to improve our task. So what I was thinking is that I will briefly show you the presentation of the task, and then we can discuss your ideas and your experience with this kind of task. It's a bit different than yours, but still there is some resemblance, and you can also interrupt me in the middle if you have some questions or something to say, of course.
Yeah, sure. Sounds great. I hope I can help. Let's see.
Okay. You can see the slide?
Yes.
Yes, great. So the idea of this study is to examine the effect of empathic interaction or conversation on, we call it here trauma analog. I'm not sure it's the best phrase, but we will basically want to show participants movies which will arouse either sadness or shame, and see how empathic conversation influence their memory after that. Okay. So, as I said, the idea is to examine how empathic conversation shape the recall of trauma analog experience, and we have all sorts of measures, and if you have other ideas, of course, we'll be happy to hear it. So we will be thinking about specificity and coherence and the emotional tone of the memory. So our key hypothesis is that empathic conversation will be associated with greater memory transformation, and more specifically more episodic details, more contextual details. And I think in your study you examine contextual details, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And greater coherence, less temporal compression. Well, this is an idea, but I'm not sure yet how to measure it. But we have this idea, and fewer intrusions and less stress associated with these memories. And we will show participants both neutral and trauma analog memories. So we hypothesize that this effect will be stronger for trauma analog memories. And we also want to see if higher perceived empathy, so we will ask them how they perceive the listener, and we think it might be associated with stronger memory transformation. And we also want to examine motion synchrony. So motion synchrony is basically a tool when you take a video and you can see the number of pixels that change from frame to frame. And this is kind of overall estimation of movement in the video. So we can see if the two participants are moving synchronously or not, or how much synchronously. And we know for example, from psychotherapy research that this is indicative of therapeutic alliance and all sorts of measures. So we were thinking it might be interesting, and it's very easy to do it in this paradigm. So we were thinking a lot about how to do it, try to be efficient. So we want to recruit 60 participants, but in fact we have 40 who are really like the participants of the study. And so the idea is that each trial is comprised of one listener and two targets. So the targets will watch the movies, and one of them will talk with the listener and the other will not. So this will be a control group.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So this is about the participants. be 2 sessions. In the first session, we will show them 2 short films. We were thinking about films a bit longer than in your study, because I think that it will be hard to see the effect of very short films, and it will be harder to have a conversation about them. So we want something more with more details and more elaborated narrative. So the idea is they will watch 2 short films. The first one will be neutral, and the second will be what we call a drama analog. And of course, we have unique titles for each of these movies.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering, would it make sense maybe to have a bit more film scenes? Like, for example, I don't know, having 2 or 4 trauma and neutral ones?
Yeah, we might
I totally get your point that our film scenes are too short for your paradigm, because they're just 45 seconds long. So when you talk about it, it's not a real conversation. I get that. But would it make sense to have 5 minutes to have at least a small range of different film scenes? I'm asking that because at least when you want to measure intrusions, usually you have 1 or 2 intrusions per film scene. It's not the case that you have 10 intrusions for 1 film scene most of the time, except you have incredibly strong film scenes. I don't know what you're planning to do. So you would get a higher variety or variance in your data when it comes to intrusions when you have at least a couple of film scenes. Not sure, just as an idea.
So you're suggesting to show a bit shorter films, but to do it 3 or 2?
Yeah, maybe 5 minutes, and then you show 3 or 4 trauma and neutral ones. So then, of course, your experiment is longer, but maybe also not too long.
No, we can do something in the middle, 8 minutes, and play with it a bit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's a good point. Okay, so we are still thinking what types of movies will be the best, because here we are thinking about movies that will arouse shame, but the idea is that participants will feel some kind of personal relevance to the movie, and they should be emotionally intense enough, to arouse intrusions and distress to some extent. Mm-hmm. And we prefer them to be ambiguous a bit, just to leave some room for interpretations. And so this is just for a movie. We have started to brainstorming about what kind of movies. So this movie, I think all of us agreed it will be a good one, since it shows an humiliation of a teenage girl in high school, and it's pretty rough. So I think it might work, but still need to find another movies. And if you have an ideas of what kind of emotion might work, the other options are, of course, sadness and fear, but I'm not sure fear will be alleviated as much with empathy. So I think it might be...
And yeah, so we are usually using fear and disgust. So I would say the 2 typical emotions in our film scenes are fear and disgust. Which is, I guess, also the typical thing, or typical emotions which you would expect in traumatic situations, or at least trauma analog scenes. I'm not so experienced with shame, especially when it comes to intrusions, but I'm also not so sure how important intrusions for you are, or whether it's more one of a couple
Yeah.
of measurements. So I mean, like if you're looking at empathy, I would also agree that I would focus more on like shame or guilt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know whether this like changes like predictions about like the other memory measurements. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so after that we want to do recall. So there will be two types of recall, and before that, and this is kind of feedback I got from the presentation in the lab, that we might want to do a personal reflection phase when we invite them to elaborate about similar experiences they have experienced throughout their life or they have witnessed, to connect them more with the specific narrative in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will do either spoken recall or sort of recall, which will be just recall in front of the camera. And
So they still report them out loud, but just like on their own in front of a camera. Right.
Yeah. And we want to instruct them to focus on the gist of the movie and of their emotional response, rather than on the factual details, to reduce like the so we don't want to help them to recall the details because we want to ask them afterwards about the details. So this is a bit tricky. And after the conversation, we want to introduce an empathy questionnaire about the perceived empathy during the conversation. So after,
do you have any ideas how to like? Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas how to instruct them to make this like to really focus on the gist and emotions? Because from experience, like especially in the solo recall phase, I could imagine that they focus more on details, at least if it's for 5 minutes. Because like the gist is like when you just explain it on your own, right? It's quite short. So you say, this happened, blah blah blah. It's like 1 minute max, and then like they will start to to describe more details, maybe.
So, how would you like treat this problem of like practice for the critical recall? I mean, we can say that both spoken recall and sort of recall are sort of practice, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, like you could like try to, during like the practice phase, if you have one, like really to emphasize more on the emotions, because I mean, like you can describe quite a lot, like how this movie made you feel, right? Don't know whether you want that though. I mean, you're saying you want them to like describe their emotional responses.
Yeah.
So this would be like more detailed explanation, which would take more time, and would like, I don't know, distract them from like reporting all these details.
Yeah. But not sure, I mean,
Pardon?
we could say that practice is not, a major problem because they have practice anyway, either in the the spoken recall and the cerebral recall. But not sure.
Yeah. Or you introduce like a practice phase with like completely random material before that. So this is what we do in our study, where we we have these two phases, like this free recall phase and like another phase where they have to describe their thoughts like just on the go. And like for this task, we introduced like a practice phase before the film scenes. So like the very first thing which they had to do when they started the experiment was to do this practice phase. And maybe it would make sense to do something similar here, where you show like just completely different neutral material, which could be shorter as well, and like let them like describe them, and then you could also like give them feedback on that. If, for example, they just like after 30 seconds start to describe all these details of the film scene, for example, which you don't want. So at least like in my experience, this helped a lot, because if not, participants will just do random stuff. I mean, this is usually how it works, right? If like you ask them to just like talk, it can be quite messy.
Yeah. Okay, we'll need to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an idea.
And after that, we want to do a resting and intrusions phase, where we just ask them to just do a mind wandering phase in front of the computer, and to just type whenever they have an intrusion, and to classify what type of intrusion, and the balance, arousal, and vividness.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we want to do a written recall, which is supposed to be the critical recall. And it will be both structured memory, so we will ask about specific details in the movie, each movie, and a free narrative with some kind of prompts, like what are the main characters, what happened, when it happened, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And in the next session, 1 week later, we will invite again the two participants, the two targets, not the listener, of course. And we want to do again this recall test, and as I just described you, and again the resting and intrusions. And this is just to track the changes over time of the memories.
Mm-hmm.
So the measures will be memory specificity from the autobiographical interview of coherence. So we'll use the time integration from the autobiographical interview, and the coherence scale. We will ask them about distress regarding the specific movie, perceived empathy, and motion symphony. We will have like an automatic tool to do it just using the videos of the conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So this is basically the whole procedure. So there will be some questionnaires at home, demographic, and maybe ASD traits, since Fatima was interested in that. And then we have a first session, as I mentioned, one neutral team. Might want to do more. I mean, we're thinking that neutral teams should come first, to not interfere with the effect of the trauma analog film. So that's the reason they are first. And a personal reflection phase, empathic conversation, or spoken solo recall, and written recall, and once again the same procedure but with the trauma analog. And in the second session we have a written recall and once again a resting and intrusions session. So this is basically the idea, and we will be happy to hear your thoughts or suggestions.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just like had these like two suggestions. I mean, I really like this idea of looking at transformation about this. I have to say, I really like this. I mean, I think this is super interesting. I was wondering, how do you measure transformation? So, what's the idea behind this? Is it just like the change in memory specificity, or is it, yeah, how do you do that?
So I was thinking about specificity. I mean, in terms of details using the autobiographical interview.
Mm-hmm.
And we can also look at coherence. And of course the distress or the emotional reaction to the movie. The contextual details. So we can see, for example, the external details.
Okay, yeah, because I was wondering whether like you could also use some like language model approach for that, like the change in semantic similarity of like the written recall from day 1 to day 2.
You use such a measure? I mean, I tried it a bit in a different study, but
we started using this. I mean, like in a bit of a different way. So not looking at transformation because we just have like one recall phase, so we can't do that. So we're doing like using 3 different approaches, I would say. Like the first one is really like to just look at the semantic similarity of a whole report of a subject and how this changes or how this differs. So this, I guess, would be like the most straightforward thing in your paradigm. So really just see, I don't know, like exactly what kind of questions you have in the written recall phase. As I said, we have like these prompts. So this sounds like some kind of question, right? So who was in the movie scene, like the persons, for example, what happened in it, or...
And afterwards I want to just ask them, really describe what happened, so we can...
Right, okay. So it's both. Like you have like these questions and like a completely free... with this free recall report, I would guess that you could look at this. What we did, but I don't know whether this makes too much sense in your paradigm, in our study was that we, like, as you said, you can use these autobiographical memory interview questions and like this rating schema of it, right? When it comes to internal details, for example. And we used this approach to look at like the number of items. So like how many persons, how many animals, and how many objects were in this free recall report. And like we now thought, okay, it would be nicer to not only have this rating schema, but also to use large language models for that. Meaning that like we have another sample describing or annotating the whole film scene or all film scenes we have. And we can use this annotation now, like where they said, okay, there was this person, that person, this person, that person, for example, and so on, like describing all people in the movie scene, and can use a large language model to get the word embeddings of these items, like the persons, for example, and see whether this word embedding now is correlated with the overall report of a participant in the memory scene. And the nice thing with this is that like we could see that like, because in our study we always compared trauma to neutral, and we could see that for trauma, item, like persons for example, fitted better with the reports for trauma than for neutral. But like for spatial context, it was the opposite pattern. So that like when you have like the spatial context which were like annotated in a film scene, put them in a word embedding space, and then correlate this word embedding space with the overall report of a subject, that this word embedding space was less correlated with the trauma compared to the neutral report. So this is just another approach to analyze your data, if you have like annotations of the whole film scene. But like in your case, I would suggest to really just get the whole written report, look at the semantic similarity, and test like day 1 to day 2. And then I would expect at least that like an empathetic conversation should lead to, as you said, more transformation. So less similarity between day 1 and day 2 compared to the solo. Compared to the spoken report.
I didn't hear you well.
Can you hear me again?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can no one hear me?
Yes, it's totally.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, you guys can hear me. Okay, so it's
Yeah. Can you hear me?
yeah.
You're
I can
going
hear
and
you.
back. Okay, now I think it's better, huh?
Probably
Yeah, I
some
think
kind of
So can you hear us or that? Or
hear you, but I
okay.
can't really. I will try to change my internet connection.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe it will do that. Just one moment. Okay. Now it will be better. So I'm sorry I didn't hear all your explanation.
Okay, yeah, I mean, no problem. Can you remember like where it stopped, or should I just like? I mean, like most of it was just like a bit confusing, like description of what we did in the past. I mean, maybe it's not that important, but like in your paradigm, I guess it would be interesting to see whether like the similarity between word embeddings from day 1 to day 2 change depending on like the empathetic conversation, because this would be quite nice marker of memory transformation, I guess, like in addition to the other stuff. But I guess it's quite simple to do.
Yeah. Maybe we can also describe the movies and
Sorry, Odette, I can't hear you that well at the moment.
do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I said we might be able to transcribe the movies itself, that we can see whether they're similar to the free recall.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, these annotations, I guess, are nice anyways. It's like some kind of ground truth. I mean, like, I guess you know the Sherlock studies, right? With, like, the
Yeah.
Sherlock. Yeah. And, I mean, there they also have these annotations. Yeah, it's quite a lot of work usually because, like, you need, like, 1 or 2 student assistants who, like, have to watch the whole movie scene. The whole movie, or like at least like these 10 minutes film clips, and like what we did was to really have like breaks after all 3 seconds, and then they had to like type down what they saw, and like you can also add some other questions like to have a more structured way, not only the free recall phase. But yeah, I think like when you really just have one movie scene, it's quite interesting to see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we can do it something a bit simpler than just put the movie in like Whisper or something like that. just to have like transcriptions to movies,
Right.
and we can just compare it. I mean, it's not the same level of details as real annotations, but maybe it will be enough.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like the other option, I totally agree, would be, to put like, like upload, for example, like your movie to ChatGPT, like in a frame by frame manner, and then it could also describe it. We tried to do this actually. For our film scenes, this did not work that well because most language models will refuse to describe, for example, how a man is, like, I don't know, beheaded or stuff like that, and like will not.
Yeah.
But like in your case, if you just have like shameful experiences, I guess it's no problem at all, as long as people will not really be tortured or stuff like that. Then I guess it should be fine. And then you're totally right. Then would be super straightforward to do that. Yeah. And because like sorry, because it would also be interesting to see. Also, sorry, to see whether there are differences in the amount of details between your film scenes, right? Neutral to trauma could be like a typical confounding variable. That like, I don't know, the shameful scenes are just, I don't know, it's just more happening.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This is at least something like quite a lot of people always ask us when we like have these film scenes, and therefore we also did this like film annotation stuff, to see whether there are differences or not, and like to control for it and so on.
Do you have something written about that?
Pardon?
Do you have something written about this procedure?
Like a paper?
Yeah, paper or a preprint or whatever. I mean, even just the description of the methods.
No, nothing. We are still also working on it. So I mean, like, I now have time again because like before that I had to write my thesis.
Yeah.
So like it was like a break in this like whole process of like a couple of months. But no, we haven't done this so far. I guess like end of the year or so. I hope that we will then like, I don't know, are done with this project. Let's see. Usually it takes longer than you expect, but yeah.
And I mean, another point I was thinking, if we might show them more than one movie as you suggested, I'm a bit worried about like carryover effect from one movie to the next movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought.
Like what kind of carryover effect do you mean?
So, if they are distressed, for example, if there are two trauma analog films and they are distressed from the first one, so they might carry over the distress to the second one, and I mean, we might be able to do like a counterbalance, but I'm not sure if it's enough or not.
Yeah, sure, I agree. This could happen. And I also have not like a really good solution for that. I mean, like, I'm not so sure if you like do it like you describe it here, then you would like first show, like, if you have like two neutral ones, you would first show the two neutral ones, and like, well, like first, like the first neutral one first, then you would have all these tasks, then the second neutral one, you have all these tasks, the first traumatic one, you have all these tasks, so there's like a break between each film scene of like, I don't know how long it takes, 15 minutes. So I guess like, I mean, it's not a super fast design.
Yeah.
This can like happen that easily. Sure, I mean, could be still a limitation. in my personal opinion, I think it's not too bad. But yeah, sure. It's still there somehow. Sure. No.
So you have any other thoughts or ideas, or problems you might say that we want to consider?
No, not really. I think it's important to have like this, like some kind of annotation, to know whether like your neutral and trauma film scenes differ. When it comes to intrusions, I'm not so sure how much I would expect there, to be honest. I mean, I think it's not really problematic for you, maybe, because like, at least in my, like, from my feeling, it's also not like a very essential measure for this project. It's different compared to like what we do with the trauma stuff, where we really want to look at intrusions. For you, it's more about like how empathetic conversations change memory per se. But maybe I'm wrong here. But like, yeah, I wouldn't think, but maybe I'm just wrong. It's hard to tell that you will measure a lot of intrusions. Just as like a warning. Because
I guess fear will induce more intrusions.
yeah, I guess fear or disgust. I think like disgust usually also leads to quite a lot of intrusions.
But I'm sure that will be alleviated by empathy. So
Right.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah, I mean, like fear, I guess, would be elevated by empathy, right? I mean, like when you had a fearful experience, it's still very important that you like talk to another person in an empathetic way, and this can really help you. Like just introspective experience. But yeah, sure. I mean, I agree. Usually, like these conversations are better when it comes to shame and like more of these more everyday experiences, maybe. Like shame and guilt, which are not that strong. So of course, it's a bit of a tension whether you want to focus on empathy or intrusions. Yeah.
do you think that this personal reflection phase is needed? I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm also not sure. Like to be honest, I don't really know why. Yeah, what is the idea?
Thomas suggested that.
Pardon? Who?
I think Thomas suggested that, but I'm not sure. I mean, because when you see, for example, let's say we showed him a movie and this girl is humiliated and bullied and so on. So I'm not sure it really will arouse shame, but it might be a bit different because it's not really happened to them. So the idea was if they will consider some kind of shameful experience that occurred to them, they might feel more shame.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so sure. I think like one of the problems here is that you mix two different things into each other, right? Like on the one hand, then if you have this, you have like the shameful film scene, but at the same time the shameful memory of like one of your own experiences, and afterwards you have like this empathetic conversation, which I guess is related to the film scene, but not to your experience. And then it might get like even more confusing when you think about it, because like your main factor, the conversation, is related to the film scene, but like the shame you're measuring is more about the memory itself of this person. I would like this would be a carryover effect, which I would be quite worried about when I think about it, because then like if you have this, your film scene is more like a memory cue for a shameful experience, which you want to measure, which is not the case in your experiment, right?
Yeah. maybe we can do something a bit more delicate, like saying them before the movies. When you watch the movie, try to like think about
Right.
things that happened to you.
Right. What we also do, maybe this is interesting for you in the trauma film scenes, like before each film scene, we have like a short introduction, like saying, imagine you're in this situation, you're on vacation, like for example there, and like then you're scuba diving, and now something happens, and like you're turning left.
That sounds good.
And you see like the shark coming at you, like right, that you like really try to be more in the situation and immerse yourself more into that.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Maybe this might help. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then it's different, right? Because you don't have like a memory of like past experiences from yourself. You're just more into the film scene.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, maybe this could help. Yeah.
And very technical questions. I mean, I heard that you are not working with Qualtrics in the lab, but you have some other tools.
No, not really. There's a problem. Like, I worked with Qualtrics back then, but like universities stopped buying the license for Qualtrics, and this stopped like just like a month ago. But because I like collected data last year, I still worked with Qualtrics. But this now changed for new paradigms, which I am not affected by. But yeah, in principle, that's true. Yeah. Why?
So we might ask Lena, what are or who do you think might be able to? I mean, I usually work with Qualtrics as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Me
familiar.
too. I also just worked with Qualtrics so far. I know that there is like from our university an own online questionnaire thingy now, which they like emphasize to use, but I haven't done this. I heard from people that it's quite handy and that it's quite easy to use, but yeah, I have no experience with it.
Okay.
So you're collecting data in Bochum?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, mainly Ray and Dima will actually collect the data.
Ah, nice. Okay. So you are students in Bochum, or Rui and Fatma? Are you from Bochum then, or are you?
Sorry? Yeah, I'm currently a master student at Bochum.
Ah, okay, nice.
Yeah, I'm not a student at Bochum. I'm just Erasmus. For my Erasmus program, I'm coming to Bochum to have my thesis there. So
Nice.
yeah,
Okay, so you see each other in the lab then?
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool.
We'll also visit at least at the start to help a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, if you have any questions or, like, just need, like, a person who's there, like, I don't know, once or twice, just, like, text me.
Great. I mean,
Thank
yeah,
you.
I'm not sure with the facility there. I mean, the
Sure.
and do you have like a facility where you can videotape conversations? I mean,
Videotape? I don't think so.
you don't have the cameras or
Not that I'm aware of, but, like, usually, like, I test in different laboratories because we always use, like, neuroimaging stuff, so I have to go to another city anyways. I'm not exactly sure whether there's a camera there, but you should ask, I guess. Not because like usually there are not like many people using some kind of film equipment. So yeah.
yeah. Okay, I'll try to ask Nikolai because letting participants watch films. I mean, it's very easy,
Yeah.
but just need a computer.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there's also an audio recording system. So
That's something. We won't be able to do the synchrony part, but if we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm just not like aware of camera.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe I just don't know it. Wouldn't be too sure.
Okay. So, like, thank you very much for your help.
Yeah, of course. It was a pleasure. Looking forward to it and what comes out.
Yeah.
Thank
Great,
you so much.
Yeah, of course. Just like, as I said, Rui and Fatma, if you have any questions or need like some help in Bochum, just let me know.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Alright?
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Okay.
Bye. So, I wanted to
It's always
talk.
meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. I really wanted to talk, but I
Yeah.
tried to not interrupt it to say everything they want. But I have a lot of problem with the movies and about the 5 minute recalls that Malte said that it's about 5 minutes recall and it's it's very mixable or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think like 5 minutes sounds. But I am not sure. Also, I was worried about, we asked two participants to have a conversation together. But what if they feel awkward to talk with somebody they didn't really know? And how will this affect the results of the experiment?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's a very, not statistical. It's more like the conversation all the time. The conversation and about the empathy and about the something like this research.
Yeah.
I think all the time it's not complicated and complete, and all the time you need to reduce criteria in there or variable about that. And yeah, it's a little bit problem for that.
But yeah, I believe we will work it out. Because
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Anyway, we will start about September or yeah. Okay, so I need to be in the September in there. Okay, I have a lots of two until I come back there. A lots of email. Do this ding 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 ding. It's a little bit hard.
True.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, looking forward to meet you.
Yes, of course. Okay, see you then. Okay.
See you then. Bye.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.